So for the Cook Islands, what kinds of things do you, how have you adapted that vision and mission to be fitting for your country?
Right. So when we're talking about disasters, what the disaster risk reduction is, we've taken a real major role in that. So considering the challenges of reaching the far North Islands, we've taken the view that we're very good at responding. We do some recovery work, but mostly that's government work. So we've taken a step forward and we're doing disaster risk reduction, and the practical side of that is with training the people from the islands, where we visit them to run training in their islands, or they come to the main island, and we do train a group of, say, emergency response team. In that training is first aid, logistics for relief supplies, for the distribution of supplies, the management of relief supplies, storage and management. And so doing a vulnerability capacity assessment where the volunteers, and that's the other thing, is building the capacity of the volunteers, because out of the 11 branches in the outer islands, only 2 islands have part-time staff. The rest of the work is done by volunteers. So our team from the main island would visit them. They conduct a vulnerability capacity assessment as a tool of finding out what the needs are on the island. And then the pre-positioned supplies are placed according to how many people are on the island, what are their needs with supplies they get. So we've taken that view in supporting the Global Alliance, the DRR Global Alliance program. And in the main island, on the main island where I'm talking to you at the national office, we've just completed, or just about to have a key handover. We've built our national office to be a shelter, as a cyclone shelter. So that if there is a cyclone on this main island, the people in the vicinity of the Red Cross office will be sheltered in our centre. And we also store relief supplies where they are distributed to the people who need the assistance on this main island as well. And then there's staff, the training of staff, the training of the executive members and the volunteers. So we're kind of placing ourselves in a position where it's not just about responding, it's being prepared before responding effectively and then looking at people's needs afterwards. And still on disaster preparedness and response, we have established a satellite phone system between each branch in the outer islands and our national office, where we have regular ongoing communications. Once a month we test those, and then as soon as we hear there's high winds warning or water problems. At the moment there's some issue with water shortage in a couple of the islands, so we're keeping communications with them. So that's been established quite firmly as well. Yeah.
So yeah, very interesting. And so, would you say that's one of the largest challenges that you have is just being able to communicate to all of those folks and making sure that they're all on the same page with all of kind of thinking about the volunteers and then your staff and the extended staff?
Yes, that is quite a challenge because they are quite a distance away and the expense of travelling. And for years, it had been a concern for us about keeping in touch and keeping the communications going with the branches to support the activities. And so the New Zealand Red Cross came up with the system of the satellite phones, and this is support that's given to the Pacific region. And setting that up kind of gives you the feeling of keeping in touch. And the transportation here in the Cook Islands is not very good as far as reaching the far North Islands. Now, the southern group, we're divided into two groups. The southern group island is like a 40 minutes on the plane or overnight by boat, and so the communications with them, and they have good systems of telecommunications. That communications is quite good with them, and it would cost about $400 to go for a visit and back. But the far north has definitely been a challenge for us. And this doesn't seem to change so much as far as transportation goes, because it costs a lot of money for the ships to go up. Now a couple of the islands even now don't have a plane going regularly. We used to have a flight once a week to now two islands now don't even get a flight unless it's an emergency. It's a charter, otherwise they just don't get a flight. So those have been real challenges for us in the past. But the satellite phone is able to bridge that gap, and when we're able to from the main office, we try to go out and run training courses and build capacity on the island. But something that the Cook Islands Red Cross has done, which I think has helped us as far as volunteerism, as far as branch development, is the maintenance of our governance as well. You know, each island has a governance and executive group who manage the business of Red Cross on each island. So what, as a leader, it's one of the things that I've done over the years, is to bring two governance people from each of the islands, 11 islands, and 2 people here onto the mainland for a governance training. So for 1 week, we conduct any training. It could in first aid, disaster preparedness, the logistics of relief supplies, and health issues. And then for the last day, we do a governance training, and in the evening, we do the election of our new governing board, and then people go back to their islands after that. So this system we've managed to do every 2 years for many, many years now. And then that way it keeps the governance up to date with their constitution, with the acts, and with the strategy plan, and with the activities for each island. And I'm not sure that how many other people can do that regularly, but that's something that we've achieved for quite a few years now.
Yeah, no, I'm sure that's very
And
beneficial.
Yeah, and that contributes to the organization, to the National Society functioning well, because it's looking at top to bottom, looking at the executive down to the volunteers on the activities, and keeping everybody informed of what's going on.
Yeah. Switching gears a little bit, can you tell me about a personal challenge that you've faced, and how that's changed you as a leader or shaped you as a leader?
Yeah, I guess it's a personal challenge. I'm a New Zealand trained RN, registered nurse, and I lived in New Zealand for 20 years, did my training, came back here early in 1990 and worked as a nurse. And I didn't apply for the Red Cross job. I was found for the Red Cross job, and I went in with the role of teaching first aid, disaster preparedness in the schools, and recruiting blood donors. And I worked on my own as a part-timer. And about 2 years later, I found myself promoted as a Secretary General and then I started recruiting other staff as to implement the work while I concentrated more on admin and still continued training for quite a while. And I guess the personal challenges were that I was not trained, to be a leader of an organization. I was employed to implement activities of a strategy plan. And then over the years, as the work increased and the number of people increased and the finances increased, say, for example, when I started work, the Cook Islands Red Cross had a budget of about $6,000. And, it owned a motorbike, it owned a mannequin and a few bandages and slings. And so the organization just kind of grew with the demand found in the community, to this year where there's a budget of about $700,000. So it's kind of I've grown along with the job, with the demand, but I've never really had any official training, an official leadership training. My leadership has been on what I've learned on the job by doing, attending meetings, being leadership in the community on voluntary basis, attending meetings regionally, attending meetings internationally.